Hello, how are you doing?
Good. I'm with Matt Germoso. This is Rhoda Pierce for the Storytellers Lounge. And Matt's here today, but he's had dental work. And I'm so sorry that, he has to suffer with me asking him questions. But he will be reading some of his poems, and no one will be suffering then. So before you were a poet, you had a variety of jobs. What did you do?
So I started off working retail at 14, and I went from being a seasonal employee to the store manager of this place called Zumiez. Got really into like management and stuff like that, so I started working grocery retail and stuff like that. So then I worked on off of Wall Street for a little bit, not on it, like on I forgot what the other street is called.
Oh, you started working when you were 14?
Yeah, I started working at Hot Topic when I was 14.
Well, is that legal?
I was the last wave of 14-year-olds that were allowed to be employed with working papers. Right before the laws got changed, yeah, to 16.
And did they make you a manager early?
They tried grooming me early.
What do they do when they groom you to be a manager?
They give you a lot of the work without the pay. They assign you tasks. They delegate tasks to you.
Yeah.
Why don't you come up with this week's schedule and teach you about how to write schedules and stuff like that?
Oh, but you liked it.
Yeah, I did. So I enjoyed it.
Did you have a lot to do with the other employees?
Yeah, I was always a big team player, and I always like to see people do their best. So anything that I could do to help nudge people along their way, I would try to do, whether I was a manager or not.
Oh, so that's great.
Yeah.
So you're kind of a social justice person in a way?
Yeah.
Or at least hoping the world's a better place, than if you can help, you will?
Yeah, I figured I've always had to learn things by falling on my face, and I figured if I could help someone avoid falling on the face because I already did it, then let's do that.
Oh, yeah, it's painful when you fall on your face.
Yeah,
I've done that a lot.
Yeah.
I literally fell on my face this June, trying to run across to a gallery, and I tripped. I had never fallen on my face before. It's figuratively, yes. So that was not good. So after you did that, you started at 14 and you did that. Did you become a poet after that?
So, it's funny. A big person in the poetry community, Thomas Fugoloro, used to be my manager at Hot Topic at the time.
You're kidding?
Yeah,
you managed
that's how
at Hot Topic?
Yeah, that's how we know each
Oh.
other. We know each other from that relationship. So I had no idea he was a poet, no idea he was into anything like that. I don't know if he was at the time. I just figured he's been doing this forever. But I got into poetry when around the time that Neil Hilborn got famous for doing slam poetry on he went viral and everything like that on this app called Tumblr through Button Poetry.
Yeah.
He had this poem OCD that really spoke to me, and I was like, what is this thing that you just talk in front of people, and they didn't know what slam poetry was, never heard of it. I know regular poetry was like sonnets and stuff like that, but
Right.
it really intrigued me, and I was like, I want to do that. So I would just hit record on my webcam while I was be sitting there in the middle of the night and just start talking at my camera, and I would transcribe whatever I wrote and spoke. And then I would eventually just piece things together. I liked that, I didn't like that, whatever. And I would just like squish together poems out of the loudness in my head.
Wow. So there was a lot of loudness in your head. You had a
Yes.
lot of information. You were up in the middle of the night doing this?
Yeah, so I have bipolar disorder, and I've been unmedicated most of my life. So it's like I'm worrying about one thing, thinking about another, remembering something from then, have a song playing in my head, and it's all happening at once, all at the same time, always. Like, that's how it used to be.
So right now?
No, now I take medication. So believe it or not, my writing has changed a lot. My process has a lot.
Is it better now?
I think it's so much harder to write now, honestly, but I find that I'm so much more proud of my work because I worked at it. Before, it was just stringing together noises in my head, which there's beauty in chaos, I believe. But now I feel like I put part of myself into something. It wasn't a byproduct that I just said, ooh, look at this. It's something that I put myself into.
So now it's more from your heart than
Yes.
your head?
Yes.
Really basically like that?
Yeah.
But it must have been kind of scary to have a lot of things going on in your head at once, or was it
overwhelming? And I
interesting?
self-medicated with alcohol for a long time, since I was 16, to like slow down the noise and be able to process it, if that makes sense.
So So did you keep any of the original poems?
So a lot of my old work, because I was in the poetry scene for a little while, a couple years ago, and then I disappeared for a few years. Had a lot of life going on, and I came back about a year ago. All my old work, I kept one poem, which I didn't bring with me, but I do have on my phone.
Okay.
But I kept one poem.
This has been part one of our conversation with Matt Germoso. I have included a little bit of the poem OCD by Neil Hilborn that Matt was talking about. Stay tuned for part two.